our first talk in our English language series. Hopefully we'll have more next semester. And we'll also have our Christmas event on the 11th of December here, where we'll have lots of people singing and musicians playing, and we hope to see you then. Okay, Maria Papadomanoulaki, who's here today, is a sound artist and a researcher based here in Hanya. Her talk is about the Acoustic Commons project from 2020 with funding from the Creative Europe program of the European Union. Ms. Papadomanolaki studied linguistics and literature at the Italian University in Thessaloniki before moving on to sound art and sound studies. She completed a PhD on sonic perceptual ecologies at Creative Research and Sound Arts Practice, London College of Communication, University of Arts, London. Her work and research focus on the role of sound in the way we perceive, create memories, make place, and an identity within our environment. So would you please welcome her? We're very grateful she's here.
So this is what we've been listening. Previously there was another live soundscape transmission from a park nearby, the Lowland Fauna Preservation Park, which is with the Technical University of Crete Hospice, but the stream went down, the transmission was offline. So now we moved on to another stream. This is a live soundscape transmission from Delhi, India. And it's a stream that my art cooperative called SoundCamp helped set up at the Barriga studio, which is an artistic studio based in Delhi. This is what a soundscape is, a summary. But I can probably see some faces already understanding what you're listening to. You don't need an actual definition. But if we have to do a definition of the soundscape, it's the acoustic environment of all the sounds that emanate from a particular location. I will let you listen to the stream and read if you want. For a little bit. This is a listening exercise. So, I like to borrow Barry Krause's definition that identifies three types of sounds. We have the biophony, which is the sounds of living organisms other than humans, the animals, the plants. We have the geophony, which is the sounds of water, wind, the earth. And then we have our plant, which is the anthropophony, with our noise, voices, technologies, and so forth. I'm pretty sure that by listening to the stream you can immediately identify some of the sounds. Now, with my work with SoundCamp, this fascination with the soundscape has been a starting point. But not only the fascination with the soundscape as something that we are listening topically or as it is documented through recordings, we were fascinated by the idea of exchanging soundscapes across the globe, of creating live soundscape transmissions and sharing them with the world. Not only that, but we were also fascinated with radiophonic work. So as an artist, my master's thesis was actually on live audio streaming. I created my own custom toolkit for streaming live my sound walks back in 2007. Because I really like walking, doing sound walks, walking and listening, performing with sounds. So I was fascinated by this idea. So when I met with Grant, we were the first 2 members of SoundCamp. Now we're a big arts cooperative with 8 members. But back then it was only me and Grant Smith. And we founded this project, SoundCamp, in order to bring our fascination, to join our fascinations with live soundscape transmission and the study and the research of the soundscape and radiophonic work. And one of our main ideas, our first project that is still running over the years, was a long-form radio broadcast, an experimental radio broadcast that would bring to the radio waves the live soundscape transmissions of daybreak sounds, of dawn choruses. What is a dawn chorus? Who knows? Dawn? The break of dawn? So dawn chorus, there's actually an international day, the International Dawn Chorus Day, where a lot of people go out very early in the morning to experience the dynamic soundscape of the dawn chorus in their own localities. This is celebrated the first weekend of May every year. So we thought that we would also like to celebrate that, and we would like to celebrate it by actually making a live broadcast that would share the live daybreaks from around the world in real time on radio. Back then, our first broadcast was broadcast entirely on Resonance FM. In 2014 was the first one that we actually did. And it continues to shine until today. Actually, this year would be the 12th iteration. The last couple of years, we had the generous involvement of the radio industry, who also helped us to stream, do a lot of other site-specific installations in the park. And so this was the first, the driving force of setting SoundCamp on board. So fascinated with the live soundscape transmission. In order for us to connect to a community of people who work in this niche field, we found inspiration in 2 pioneering projects that were working on this niche field, this emerging field, and it still is an emerging field. It hasn't been established yet. The first one was a project that is still running actually by a group of engineers like you guys at the University of Tokyo, Japan, who created in 1995 the Cyber Forest Project, which was basically setting up a network of audiovisual observatories around urban and peri-urban forests in the city of Japan, in order to observe migratory birds, environmental conditions, all sorts of information. What's actually quite interesting about that particular project is that they also developed some citizen science tools. Do you know what citizen science is? You know what science is and engineering, but do you have an idea what citizen science might be? Citizens science. Science that is produced by us, everyday people. So they developed some methodological tools, so everyday people who might spend time in the forest, were able to contribute to the observations. Like they had listening groups, some IRC chat groups where people could log in and say, at that time, that day, I heard that sound. And then they would confirm it by going back into the recording of the archive. So that for us was an inspirational project because we found out that there were fascinated by the same niche field as we did. The second project is the Locus Sonus Research Lab. The thing that we had back, a few minutes back, is actually on a map, like that one there, which is the Locus Sonus sound map that was established in 2006 by the Locus Sonus Research Lab. What they actually offer is a set of tools and a server for people to set up and stream, transmit their own soundscapes, live transmissions of soundscapes. Each open microphone, interestingly enough, is not just a soundscape that emanates from an acoustic environment. There's a whole project behind. So each one of these microphones represents an artistic or scientific project. There are microphones that are set up in biosphere reserves, in ornithology observation stations, marine biology observatories, and of course there are some other projects that are more artistic. So it's quite a multifaceted project. With both of these groups and projects, we have established an ongoing and long-standing collaboration. Now, so we have this fascination, we have this interest, this curiosity about the live soundscape, transmission of the soundscape. With the Acoustic Commons project, which, as Anne said in her introduction, was funded by the Creative Europe funding program of the European Union, which is essentially a funding for creative practice, for arts. What we wanted is to build a wider network of organizations, researchers and artists and audiences around that niche field of live soundscape transmission. As part of our obligations to the funders, all the different partners, which I will present later on in the presentation, we were obliged, or we had to gather regularly, exchange experiences, expertise, ideas around live soundscape transmission through meetings, seminars, and workshops that we did with each other, with the aim to create new broadcasts of soundscapes, to create a series of new soundscapes from sites of cultural and or natural heritage value. So soundscapes and sites that would have something unique to them that we would want to share with the rest of the world. Most importantly, as part of the Acoustic Commons, because we're talking about the commons here, something that we can share, knowledge that we can share with the rest of the community, so they can be enriched and become interested themselves in that field. So most importantly, we have to develop outreach educational activities like this one, workshops and listening about transmitting and listening to the soundscapes that were open to the wider communities related to each partner. Because it is about a network of people across Europe who work to develop, spread the word around live soundscape transmission. We also had to, and we did, develop a series of artistic events, exhibitions, compositions, interventions, focusing on soundscapes and live environmental sounds. And also, very important as well, create a library of resources that are open to the public. Actually, most of the things that we developed and we created and we presented are available online on the acousticcommons.net website. And a source of open source tools and recipes for people who might be interested to try themselves the idea of setting up a broadcast, a live transmission of a soundscape in their own location. So this is the main axis of the project. This is what we worked on for 2 years. It was a 2-year-long project. Unfortunately, the first year happened during COVID. You can understand how impactful that can be for a project that is community-based, that wants to reach out to the community. Nonetheless, we managed to adjust and move on. And I'm going back to that project that I mentioned earlier, Prevail. This 24-hour broadcast of daybreak sounds. That this year we'll be celebrating its 12th iteration for 12 years. We've been doing that for 12 years. 24 hours mixing of live mixing of soundscapes. Imagine that. How difficult that is. But also how inspiring to keep us going. So Reveil, which is one of our, the major projects that we have been working on with SoundCloud. Of course, apart from Reveil, we have been doing lots of residencies and workshops and installations. We work around public sound and radio. And Reveil is one of the projects that we've been producing. So Reveil was actually an important starting point for the idea of the Acoustic Commons. I think you can already understand why. No? Yes? Because we started creating a network of live streams. Okay? I will explain. I will be more clear. A starting point for the Acoustic Commons, because on the occasion of the first Reveil, as I said earlier, we contacted our inspirations. We contacted Sun Cyber Forest, we contacted Longsonos, and also we contacted other people, institutions, universities, individual artists, and invited them to engage with us in this shared practice of setting up live soundscape transmissions as that would form part of the first broadcast. So for the first time, a first iteration of a nascent community started to happen. These collaborations over the years gradually started developing. We started having open calls, reaching out to people, inviting them to open up their microphones, using their phones, and be part of the broadcast. And this whole momentum kept on going. We had commissions to commission specific artists from remote locations, from India, from Egypt, from the depths of Russia, to open up a microphone for us so we can listen to the daybreak of their location. So this whole thing expanded significantly over the years. By the end of, let's say, Reveil 9, we had a solid community of people who were very eager every year to take part in the broadcast and let the sounds of the localities be heard and be part of this 24-hour community. So not only that, but through repeatedly creating the same practice under different contexts, because each year we had new people being added to the list of participants, and also contextualizing the broadcast with local activities. So, as I will explain a little bit later, the first Reveil broadcast, we produced it live by setting up a temporary radio station in a park in London, at Stayfield Ecological Park. This is where we mixed the whole thing. And we wanted to contextualize that with other activities that would happen site specifically, like a dawn chorus walk. So people who would wake up early in the morning, come to the park, and go for a walk to see and listen to the sounds of the daybreak in the park. We offered these people the opportunity to camp in the middle of London, because the park was in London, and still is, hasn't left it. London is still there. And we had presentations by scientists who were talking about identification of bird species. We had a field recording workshop. So we contextualized this listening to soundscapes with topical activities that would give to the local inhabitants, the citizens, the opportunity to learn more about the soundscape. So this whole effort, repeated effort of staging and presenting and curating the same idea over the years, gave us a clear vision of the possibilities of working with this field, of transmitting live the soundscape. And every time we had more and more people, and more visitors, and more campers, and more online and remote participants taking part in our event, in our celebration of the Town Chorus. These, as you can understand, were very milestone understandings and observations in terms of moving forward and applying for something bigger, which is funding from Creative Europe. So a takeaway until now is that when you have an emerging field, in my case, the live sound and transmission, when you have that you try to define, that's always a good starting point for a funding application. On top of that, if you consistently practice that definition over the years, you develop a very specific vision and framework that then gives way to a very unique and innovative proposal on a very emerging field, and probably an inspiring vision that is so inspiring that the funders will say it's worth supporting. We got some very good feedback when we applied. So our proposal got some very good feedback, and Creative Europe is a very competitive funding scheme, as with all the funding schemes in the European Union, as you can understand, ERC and so forth. I think these two things, that we have consistent practice and work, that through which we learned, how we can use this unique field to create engaging activities for the community, and the proven record that we've been working consistently over the year to define this field is what gave us, what makes it stand out as a proposal for the panel. These are the partners in our, so we have to propose a network of partners that we would work with across Europe, and not only Europe. As you can see, we included Japan, because it was an important point of reference for us. In the proposal, we cited very clearly that it's due to this project that we found inspiration in this project, and it's very important to have their expertise when we will work on the different projects of the Acoustic Commons, to have them on board in order to help us with their expertise to develop the projects that we want to develop. We have all of these people that you see here, we have collaborated in the past at different iterations of Reveil. So they already knew us. They knew already what we were working on, that we're interested in live soundscape transmission. So they were very easily and happily, were very happy to immediately join the project, because they knew the context. We have worked with them previously. Remember what I talked in the previous slide, that we have developed a very clear vision, but also a track record of collaborations that reactivate as part of the Acoustic Commons. We have, of course, Locus, who are one of the key stakeholders, key partners, because they provide the server, they provide lots of technical resources. Full of Noises, which is an artistic, they curate a lot of events in the north of the UK, an artistic institution. We have Chorna in Ljubljana, Slovenia, who also curates, is an artistic institution. We have here the Department of Music, Technology and Acoustics. I wanted to involve somebody from Greece, and these were the first people that I thought of, because they did some research in the past on telematic listening and telematic music, so they already somehow knew the field. And these are the main partners with whom we worked on to develop local, but also hybrid events as part of the Acoustic Commons. So over the 2 years, we curated lots of different events, of different types of events. So radio broadcasts, workshops, listening workshops, streambox building workshops. So In the very beginning, I showed you an image of the making of the open microphone, the string box. Very here. This is a string box. This is a recipe that we have developed. So it's a Raspberry Pi microcomputer, and we have developed our own custom software, which is based on dark eyes, and basically program the string box to take the data from the audio card and send it to a server, connect to a server and stream on the server. There are also some other details that have to do with the audio quality, the compression of the audio, the calibration of the audio card. But this is how it is. It's a very simple recipe, and these are made for permanent installation of broadcast. So you will need that if you need a device that is solely focused on just transmitting sound. You don't have to have a computer or a phone. This is operating across all weather conditions, outside. We have now a recipe that works on solar panels, so it's fully independent in terms of energy. So we did workshops with the community across different countries in Europe on how to use these devices, how to also use your phone. We have developed, as I will describe a bit later, some software, some applications that you can download and easily connect the server to stream. Other events were writings. We invited poets and writers to be inspired by listening to the soundscape and produce written material, compositions, performances, installations. This is like a collage of different posters of events. There's two of them that happen here in Kenya at the park, the Festival of Sounds. We have our artist residencies, Hannah Tuliki, a very famous artist. We had soundbox. And one important, to me at least, output was a collaboration with a group of alumni from the UCL Department of Architecture who have their own research group, which is called Public Works, and where they explore the cross-pollination between architecture, art, and performance. So we did a lot of workshops with them. They attended our workshops, and at the end, they produced this mobile auditorium, which is called Pitch, and which we toured across the different countries of the network. We wanted to really bring it here in Kenya, but it was very difficult at the end. The project has clearly made it, so we didn't actually make it. Maybe in the future, maybe this year or next year, we will set it up here in the park. So Pitch is an open mobile auditorium with transducer speakers attached on the membranes. And people can listen in the middle, sit in the middle, and listen to live soundscape streams, like a live transmission of soundscapes. And of course, it's an open structure, so the environmental sound, the site-specific environmental sound merges with the sound of the transmitted soundscape. I think that's a very nice testimony of how fruitful our collaborations were and how fruitful the workshops we did with different communities were. Now, as I said previously, we did also lots of technical workshops, so we can educate people how to use the devices and the recipes that we've been developing, but also hoping that people would take these ideas and knowledge away and create their own custom versions of the same devices, which actually did happen. So the project started in 2020. COVID. And lots of workshops that we had initially planned that would happen site-specifically, listening workshops, couldn't take place. So what we worked with is the idea of setting up live sound streams, soundscape transmissions from the different sites of the network, and then create a listening room that we could use for different people of the community to log in. It's an IRC chat basically, and a player. There's nothing sophisticated about it. It's very simple. So we would listen to a stream, and then there would be a conversation happening in the chat box. Sometimes we would invite the artist behind the stream. So an artist who set up a particular stream, like the Barilla one, they were also invited. They would present their streams, they would present the background, how they set it up, the technology that they use, why that location, what is the context of the soundscape. And then people, listeners, would also ask them questions, but also share their listening observations. And this method of listening, I would say it's a method more than anything else, we use it then in lots of projects that happened as part of that first year of the Acoustic Commons, and everything is documented. You can click on the link, and then you can get maybe some recordings and all the chat conversations that happened underneath. And we are still using it. We are still using this project. And we are still doing a project which is called Radio with Palestine, where we give the opportunity to remote artists who are based in Palestine to temporarily stream their soundscapes, but also streaming the sounds of protests around Europe. And this is also then rebroadcast on radio stations, Radio Al-Hara, which is a radio station based in Palestine. So it's a tool that a method that we developed that gives, the possibility for people to share their voices. Because their voices are not shared in the public media. Nobody cares about these transmissions. But we offer the opportunity to these people to be heard. And I think that's an important contribution on its own. So the listening room, it's a major feature on the Acoustic Commons network, website, and a very good methodology that we still use. We have a library, as I said, everything that we produce, the reports that were written, essays, poetry, compositions, performances, posters that were designed, everything is up in the library and people can visit it and learn more about the project of the Acoustic Commons, but also different activities that we produce. And of course, the open source tools that I already mentioned a lot. Ways to stream with a laptop using QData, or BAT, which is an open free software. Ways of streaming using a Pi, all the contents that you need, or using your phone. And people were very kind to send us, when we did the workshops, to send us images of their different setups, what they used to connect their phones to the server, and what type of microphone they use, and connections they use, and devices they use, in conjunction with their phone to stream. So you have lots of different configurations. You have a Focusrite sound card. You can simply use your phone. Most phones have very good quality audio nowadays. We don't need any of that, to be honest. But then, as I said, people participated in the workshops, and then each one of them trialed and tested the knowledge to create their own toolkit for streaming. So this is all up online and available for people to use it. We also have some webinars, we have all sorts of resources. Now, new collaborations and partnerships. So it was an obligation to create new streams in new locations of interest. So these actions we developed, and I will briefly present some of these new collaborations. So new soundscape transmissions, collaboration with these sites and the authorities, the stakeholders that are operating in these sites to program and plan activities related to the Acoustic Commons, and also to help us through their channels get in touch with local stakeholders, artists, researchers, and audiences. And of course, also with the possibility of being extended to continue after the completion of the project. So most of these collaborations continue to exist, even though the Acoustic Commons project successfully completed its course in 2022. And some of them are still on board for the writing the next phase of a proposal. So we are now preparing an even more ambitious proposal for an Acoustic Commons phase most importantly, an ongoing collaboration on a local level for designing long-term educational and research programs that will benefit for society, writing funding proposals locally for events and so forth. So, one of the first such collaborations that emerged was the collaboration of Locus Onus with Le Parc National de Galan, which is on the island of Pomègue. So a streambox was set up there. The live soundscape transmission was used by the researchers of the PLC to monitor the park's wildlife biophony and how it interacts and coexists with the anthropophony. So it was a little bit of research that was undertaken using the soundscape. Because actually the ability it offers to access it remotely, it's interesting. So you don't have to be there on site. You can observe it live, off-site. And that's important, you know, when you're doing these types of work. And most importantly, the microphone streambox were designed and constructed by a student researcher who attended one of our workshops. So, as I said previously, you know, they took away the knowledge, and then he came back by offering, proposing a new design to be installed in the island of Pomègue. Jonah collaborated with the urban forest of Rosen Hill, the people in Rosen can see Sky Hill Landscape Park, and the streambox was set up nearby an old greenhouse, which actually, interestingly enough, because it was part of the Acoustic Commons projects, the microphone, and because it was very close to the greenhouse, they got funding locally from local authorities to turn the greenhouse into a gallery, into a biophony gallery, the Stepling. And it's still going, so it operates as a gallery, they have lots of events, they curate, they invite artists to do residencies, and they do lots of interesting stuff in the park. Safety Ecological Park, as I said before, we've been setting up our temporary radio station there for many years. Through the project, we also installed a streambox, a permanent streambox, it's still running, and it kind of solidified our collaboration with them, and they still use it. Stapleton Park is actually a very central area in London. It's fascinating to be able to come overnight during a festival, and it's a very nice, very popular park. They have lots of workshops, beekeeping workshops, food foraging workshops. There are a lot of volunteers who help to keep it going, to maintain it. And now the broadcast is used for listening activities with kids. So they listen at different, from the schools, they listen remotely, and then they visit, and they identify, they have some cards, and they use the cards to identify on a weekly basis the sounds that they heard over a week. They do this kind of listening exercises. It's actually quite fun. And they have some drawings as well. They respond to listening with drawing and so forth. So that's another way of producing something that is used more than just it's the passings of the sound. It's used for educational purposes and for outreach. And here we are. Similarly, Soundtop with Full of Noises collaborated with the Flora and Fauna Preservation Park here in Hainan, which is a park that Tuk is responsible of, let's say. We chose this site because it's very close to the city, it's very popular for schools and local visitors, and also it's a park that is owned by an academic institution. For practical reasons, that's a good practice. It's best practice when you're dealing with this type of project, because actually maintaining a streambox, as I forgot to say, it has some logistics. It needs to have access to the internet. People, if something goes wrong, if something happens to the streambox, somebody has to be there to take care of it. I mean, this person is me, and this park is very close to where I live. But also the technical teams have been very helpful with the streaming side of things. And electricity and access to the internet and so forth. So it was a very good match, I would say. So I drafted a proposal at the rector back then, Mr. Diamandopoulos, Dr. Diamandopoulos, and they were very happy to support the project. And we did that. We set up the Springboks so that the park would take part in Reveille 2021. It would be part of the broadcast. So we have a live soundscape from Chania, from the park. Of course, the collaboration still happens. We are preparing now the next Festival of Sound that will happen the first weekend of May to coincide with International Coast Day. And we are also working on educational events and activities, so working in collaboration with the school here in Chania to work on a project. The proposal has been drafted. We don't know if we'll get the money, but there is some good momentum here. So the collaboration continues after the completion of the project. So takeaway 2, use existing methodologies, expertise and working context to design new and open learning experiences and creative environments, on-site, hybrid, offline, hands-on. Be flexible, adjust. These often lead to new collaborations and enrich or confirm existing ones. Very important, cross-disciplinary collaborations work the best for the installation, maintenance, and successful completion of long-term projects. In this presentation, we had the example of a collaboration with, let's say, across 3 types of institutions. We have artistic institutions that contribute innovative ideas, the idea of live soundscape transmission, to present, embed a research field within a community, to reach out to creative minds and turn an idea into a cultural experience. That's actually very, very important for you engineers and scientists. You want what you do to be able to be accessible from the wider community. So it's important to have that in mind. You know, an artistic institution, a cultural institution can help you do that. An academic institution provides stability, context, and support for researching, installing, and maintaining or sustaining a project and expanding it over the years. For instance, I would imagine that such technology that we are using would be interesting to present in a lab here at the National University of Crete. I mean, perhaps your lab or Sense Lab. I know that Dr. Patsinevlos uses Raspberry Pi computers. You know, we could probably, apply this sound-based practice methodology as well and see, if we can get some interesting scientific results. And then we have local stakeholders, like the park, Ms. Antonia Zaharouli, that assist in integrating a common idea to the topical conditions and parameters of an environment. This wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the collaboration of these 3 types of institutions. So the final takeaway, allow, and that this is for you, allow your research science practice to become a cultural and social experience by working with hand in hand, I forgot to add hand, working hand in hand with other disciplines to bring audiences and the community closer to what you do. Building a network of collaborations with people over the years, often outside the comfort zone of your lab and your field. Take risks. Think outside the box while staying focused on the important aspects of your work. Very didactic.